Hello everyone, this is AmberAnkNA here. Welcome to my channel. Well, I play a variety of games and do narrations for fanfics. I'm really hoping you enjoy my content. If you do, make sure to comment below, leave a like, and subscribe with the notifications on. Right, so next time, this is AmberAnkNA. Welcome to my channel. So, hi. Wait, hello. Today, we are reading Death Row, Chapter 1, A New Assignment. Wherever I end up after this, in whatever reality, all those moments between us were real, and they always be ours. I always love you. Now, get out of here, please. Do it before I freak. And Mass Caulfield, don't you forget about me. Never. Forget the horrors here. August 20th, 2018. The first week wasn't so bad. She spent the better half of her day sitting through company orientation while she watched an old PowerPoint presentation that appeared like it hadn't been upgraded in over a decade. It showed irrelevant scenes about policies and po- policies and procedures that a molecule and unfunded budget apparently didn't have the resources to modernize. The onboarding paperwork for the Franco Hayward was a bit tedious and required way too many signatures just to begin a good job. As a new photojournalist for the online news store, Smash Caulfield sat through over a dozen mandatory training classes for the remaining 4 days of her work week without even stepping foot in the organization's office. Her new boss, Watson, discovered the flicker goes for graffiti sales because of an online blog she was keeping while owning her undergraduate degree. Maz attended a small community college and majored in general surgeries. She never really had a drive to do anything besides take photos. But her parents encouraged her to study while she figured out what she wanted to do with her life. Even at the end of her college career, soon nothing interests her besides taking photos and strumming her guitar. We assume any artistic field wouldn't bring in enough money for her to make it on her own, so she started a blog while working part-time for her dad. One day, a couple months after graduation, on a whim, the brunette applied for a full-time gig in Fresno, California. It was a long distance from her parents' house in Seattle, but it would keep her on the West Coast, which was a big plus. She never really saw herself living that far from her family, but it was an opportunity to finally dive headfirst into her career. She received an email informing her that she was a top candidate and needed to interview to move forward to the next step. Circumstances like this one didn't come along too often, so she called the latest number and immediately took a phone interview. About 10 minutes into the conversation, Watson mentioned how impressed he was with her blog and offered massive position. He emailed her a pre-employment info packet so she could mull it over with her faults. Matt and her parents combed through the presented information and researched the company as well as the surrounding area. Everything seemed to be in order, and the salary was acceptable, so the 22-year-old called the man back and accepted the role. 1 week later, she moved into an apartment her father had helped pick out in a decent neighborhood not far from her employer. Make some friends, sweetie. Make some friends quickly, sweetheart. Ryan concernedly suggested that he and Vanessa help unload the last of their daughter's belongings. Friends look out for one another. We feel much better knowing you had at least a few people here concerned about your safety and well-being. If it were only that easy. At least I meet my coworkers soon. Maybe a friendship or two wouldn't be too hard. I'll be fine, Dad. Remember to take your pills, Vanessa reminded her daughter. 2 a day for certain. 1 in the morning before breakfast and 1 after dinner. You can take one if you feel an attack coming on. If you need a refill, just let us know. Thanks, Mom. I got it. Max pulled the prescription bottle from her satchel and squeezed it between her pointer and thumb. She gently pressed her wrist, tossing the contents from the small container to a lucky rattle. Ryan and Vanessa spent the first night with the daughter to help ease her transition, but also because of how leafy the drive was between Fansville and Seattle. That first morning, the threesome enjoyed coffee together. Then the older two hit the road. Max could tell it was tough for them leaving her alone in a new city. Numerous times, she assumed her parents that she could take care of herself and wasn't a child anymore. They had always been protective of the only daughter, so it didn't seem out of character for them to hold on a little too tightly. She was thankful for their help, but was eager to begin her life and move forward. The following week, orientation began, and most of the training took place over Zoom, where she sat in her apartment in front of her laptop for many hours. Other times she had to sit in a local hotel's conference room, listening to one presenter after the next until she nearly couldn't take the boredom anymore. Max had never traveled to Fansville, nor did she know much about the city prior to accepting a photojournalist role. So she decided to drive around town after leaving her apartment. The first weekend in the new town, she casually drove through the downtown area, noticed there was a water park, a jail, a prison, and a museum. The logic seemed nice, and the photographer thought it would be a good place to meet new friends and have some tea or coffee together while enjoying the Anksters meal. Max was nervous to put herself out there, but made a promise to the girl in the mirror that she wouldn't be so chicken-shit anymore. She was at the beginning of her adult years and intended to act more bold and confident, even though she didn't particularly feel much different. It felt like she was starting her life, which was something she wanted to do for as long as she could remember. Despite being in her only 20s, Max had an old soul and really just wanted to find her place in the world where she could make a difference with her work. She was lucky Weston found her blog and took a chance on hiring someone with little real-world experience. Driving back to her apartment, she pulled through a fast food drive-thru and took her meal back home. She promised she wouldn't make a habit out of it. But a burger and some fries were exactly what she wanted. After eating dinner, Mask called her parents to check in as she did each day then took a shower. She watched Netflix until she couldn't hold her eyes open anymore, set the alarm on her phone, and drifted into a deep sleep. Finally, the new week begun. She progressed through the triple morning preparations, grabbed a quick coffee, and then she departed for work. Arriving at the organization's office street, Matt pulled into the gaudy parking lot, which was littered with potholes and uneven cracks, and located a vacant spot. She opened the door to get out of the vehicle, swung her bag over her shoulder, and maneuvered towards the glass double door entrance after walking up the 6 steps leading to the front of the building. It was officially her second week on the job, but her first day at her actual workplace. As the heavy entrance doors quickly sunset behind her, she found herself in a large room with cubicles in the center and doors she assumed leading to offices, classrooms, and maybe a kitchen or break room around the perimeter. She sat there to gather her belongings, attempting to figure out where she needed to go. A dull murmur bounced around the room that sounded like what Mask would consider a Euro office environment. The clicking of keyboards, several indiscernible conversations in the distance, the copper warming up, and an occasional phone call. Mass Caulfield! A deep, raspy voice called out from across the room. She turned her head and pivoted her body towards the far corner, noticing a man walking her direction. How's your week of training? Sorry it's so damn boring. We have rules and regulations we have to abide by for new hires. A limited name badge was clipped to his khaki pant pocket, informing her the man was the one who had hired her. He was at least 6 feet tall, and she could tell he had a muscular build, and even though his button-down dress shirt hung loose and untucked except in the spot over his badge pocket. Oh, it was fine. Not too bad. The brunette forced a half smile, yet felt her anxiety was way too apparent. She raised her eyes. She was nervously trailing her inner lock fingers out in front of her torso, and the increased rapidity of her heartbeat made breathing a bit difficult. A panic began to stir within her, so she located the bullets in her bag where her pill bottle was recited and took a deep breath. Her resolve was strong, as she wanted to get through this without the additional assistance. So she lowered her hand, attempting to manually calm her distressed mind. I can do this. I can do this. Good! Well, it's nice to meet you in person. Big fan of your online work. Weston stuck his hand out and masked a was. She felt the slight tingling of her arm would be recognized, but her new boss didn't react as if he noticed. Follow me for a quick tour, then I show you where you'll be working. As he turned, her boss placed an open palm on Max's lower back to help lead her along, which felt a little unnatural and uncomfortable to the girl. Being middle-aged, the man most likely had an old-fashioned mentality, and the test was probably innocent. She shrugged it off, assuming it was just his way. You find donuts and cheap-ass coffee most every morning. Feel free to grab a bottle of water anytime you want. The fridge is stocked with them. You can bring your lunch and store in here if you like. The man motioned to the break room as they quickly strolled past. Weston was taking his time wasn't taking his time showing the new employee around. It seemed like he wanted to be polite and get mass started off right, but he was super busy and needed to get back to work. They continued the tour, finally coming to a vineyard cubicle. There was a marked Audrey Cook sheet of printer paper with her name in big, bold letters taped to the side. And this is yours. Glad you made it. Glad you made it, Mass. A new voice welcomed her from across the small walkway on the open side of the cubicle. The name's Maria. It's good. Maria is a damn fine journalist. Urson interrupted. I leave it to it. Open the desk drawer, Mass, and you'll find your log in condenser. Get settled in, and I check on you later. Before she could say thank you, the man disappeared around the corner and closed the door to his office. Master Lisa buried the stonable sigh, then set her bag on the dress and sat down in her new chair. She adjusted the height to a comfortable level and opened the drawer. Don't worry about him, her new acquaintance suggested as she approached the cubicle. Just do a good job and you'll be fine. You might have to go above and beyond to get ahead, but we all do what we have to do, you know? Matt nodded and received the piece of paper from her desk. He told you your first assignment yet? Not yet, but I'm ready to dive in. Matt noticed the girl propping up against her desk. She had beautiful, creamy skin and dark, experienced eyes. So, what are you working on? Girl, I'm working on a story about a woman who suffered from amnesia for 15 years. One day, she just snapped out of it and realized she had an entire family living in another state. It's a damn it is thing. Gonna interview her tomorrow. Maybe you can join us with those camera seals. I heard so much about. So off a little. Maria bounced her eyeballs up and down, then pointed to the screen where Master's mouse was covering and kidding. She should check the login icon. Sounds fascinating. I hope I get to work with you. That would be swell. Damn it, Mass. Swell? You just a dork. She washes her new colleague, then dramatically spun around and bounced back to her carrier. Through warm cheeks and a flickering glaze of warm sweat, Mass faced her computer, logged in, and opened her emails for the first time. A welcome message from the Human Resources Department was sitting on her inbox. It didn't contain any new information besides an organizational certificate for completing the first week of training. She printed the document and tackled it to the fuzzy side of her small cubicle. Sitting at her new desk, Matt felt a slight relief from her anxiety for the first time that night. Okay, I'm okay. This will all become routine after a few days. Maria seems nice. Wonder if she'd be my friend. Gosh, Mass, you even seem desperate in your own head. The freckled photographer realized she felt pulse. All the worrying and uneasiness made her mouth seem a weird slightly. She stood up, remembering what Winston told her about the water bottles, and made her way to the break room. She realized she was walking rather quickly and stumbling downward, staring at the floor, so she forced her pace to slow and straighten her posture, feeling a confidence she hoped would help make her feel more comfortable. She opened the refrigerator and obtained the items she came for. You got what you wanted? Now just walk back to your desk. Nobody is watching you. Upon returning to her work area, she popped down in her chair and saw notifications on her desktop. A new email was waiting for her, and it was from her boss. She double-clicked the message and read it. Oh, that's a typo. Matt! Checking to make sure you're logged in. Just received an intruding phone call. Know anyone at the prison? Looks like someone knows you. Come to my office after you're settled for your first assignment. Thanks, Washington. Matt had only focused on her future in recent days, so it was a bit strange to look back. She searched her memories and drew a blank. Francis was a brand new place to her, and she didn't think she knew anyone who had been locked away. The brunette hadn't even made a friend here yet. She certainly didn't know anybody in prison. I'm as settled as I ever be, I guess. I found my assignment. Everything will be fine. The photographer took another deep breath, stood from the seated position, and then picked her bag up from the desk. Using a single strap, she swung the straps overhead, allowing it to rest on her shoulder and the bag to hang by her hip. She began walking towards the far corner office with a stiffened false assertive in her step. Her chest was puffed and her head was slightly tilted upwards so she could hopefully appear confident and assertive, even though every part of her head was screaming the opposite. As she approached, she saw the man through drawer window shades, even though the drawer was closed, as if to deter anyone from entering. He was sitting behind his desk with one hand in the air for Matt's dinner. A phone was kindled between his shoulder and air, and her boss had his feet propped on the desk, tilted backward in his chair. She's here! I hit you later! Winston ended the call and laid the phone back in its base. Then he stretched an arm out with his palm facing upward. Matt! Shit! The angle of his hand informed Matt that he wanted her to take a seat in one of the two button-top armchairs that faced the man's oversized, extrusive hardwood desk. I got your email. Burnett softly spoke. I don't know anyone in prison. Matt stopped around and took a seat. Someone sure as hell knows you. Winston spotted. Who? How? All I know is a prisoner on death row hasn't spoken to anyone in years. Suddenly you take your role here, and she asks for you by name. Exactly 1 week before her scheduled induction date. She doesn't even want anyone there but you. The hell does that mean? Her boss's words seemed a bit intense, bordering harsh, yet his inflection was that of incitement. What the fuck could a prisoner on death row want? Why me? What does she want? A strange overwrought energy prickled through the girl's extremities because of the uncertainty of her circumstances. She wasn't sure that West made her more intense. Being one of her boss to knowing she had to face an inmate on death row soon. Well, think of this, Matt. You have an opportunity to make a name for yourself. Most people have to prove their worth to me, one way or another, before getting a shot like this. Whether it's just a damn coincidence or fruit, or whatever. You're going to that prison, and you'll get all the answers to your questions. The progress, all investigation gets nice exposure, and you get the chance to your career to the fast lane. Opportunities like this don't come around every day for entry-level photojournalists. Hell, maybe this is your destiny. What? Destiny? At the man's last word, Max felt a nostalgic energy cascading throughout her body. A struck thoughts bounced around her head, but she couldn't quite make sense of the sensation she was experiencing. Earth to Mars, you in there? What? Looked like you were a million miles away for a moment. The man stood and walked around to his desk, coming to a stop behind the seat where the photographer was sitting. He placed both hands on the girl's shoulder and began to gently massage. I know this is sudden. I didn't want to throw it out there this yet. Hell, you were supposed to saddle Maria for months before I was gonna give you your own assignment. But that ain't in the cards. Gotta just roll with it sometimes. Pulling away and standing, Max quickly twisted around to face the man. Sounds good. What's the next step? I just go to the prison and take some pictures? She felt her voice lightly crackled and knew her boss recognized her hesitation. Relax, Max. Act more confident. Pretty much. Tomorrow, you make your way there and interview the inmate. Tripoli, your job would just be taking photos. That's what you were hired to do anyhow. With this assignment, you need to get the goal to open up. There's much more on the line than simple photos. The state is very interested in what she has to say. Since she asked for you personally, this assignment might be easier than it seems. Let's talk to her and see what she has to say. What does she do to end up on death row? Max took a step back, clearly feeling uncomfortable being in such close proximity with Weston. She noticed he had a murky scent that reminded her a little bit of her dad's beard oil, and she thought it smelled something like lavender than Carter, but couldn't be too sure. Her true identity is unsure. They're calling her Jade. For J. Joe, I guess. That's why this is such a high-profile assignment. She was accused of murdering a man. Then she just went silent. Weston shrugged and turned to walk back towards his desk area. As soon as he sat, he continued. She wouldn't confirm who she was or why she did what she did. And there was some inconsistency with her DNA. They found her holding the gun and ballistics confirmed she pulled the trigger. She refused a lawyer but pleaded guilty by writing a note on her napkin. Very strange case. Oh my god, dog! That's terrible! Shit, murder? She asked for mass cover at the Franco Hayward, saying you are the only one she speak to. The man used finger quotes while smirking. Look, kid, I don't know why she asked for you. It is what it is. I know you're nervous, but this is a turning point for your life and career. They be talking about it for years. Hell, you might end up famous if you play your cards right. He chuckled to himself, then picked his phone back up and started dialing. You hadn't had to do anything to earn this, but here it is. Just don't fuck it up. Yeah? I don't think I'd like to be famous. I just want to do a good job. Only hope. That's what you'll be doing with this assignment. A good job. The middle-aged man gobbled, cutting the photograph off. Anyway, I have a caller, mate. I email you more details a little later. You'll be fine, Mass. He popped back up and crossed his legs at the ankles on top of his desk. Hey, Trissa! Got the intel? Very good! Thank you. She whispered as she backed out of the room and walked down the side aisle back towards her desk. She could feel eyes on her as she approached her cubicle, but this annoyed them. She recognized that she was the new girl, and a trip to the boss's office might be somewhat interesting to others. Well, shit. The only other voice Mac recognized in the building called way out as she sat back down in her chair. Got a message that I'd be on my own with the story now. Would have been nice to have you with me, Mass. Mass read over and sat halfway down the corner of Mass's desk and tilted her head downward in her dressing. Yeah, looks like I'm headed to the prison tomorrow. If it wasn't for your first gig, I insist you do both. Got a multi-task, girl. Her new acquaintance smiled and then hopped down to her feet. Placing a hand on Mass's shoulder, the reporter looked left and right, then aligned their eyes so they were locked on one another. She inched her face in closer as if she was about to whisper a secret, placing her lips near Mass's ear. You should probably do some research the rest of the day. One of the worst feelings I ever had during my career came when I was unprepared for an assignment. This time, my advice is free. Next time, I charge you. She spun around like a ballista and disappeared around the corner, giggling in the distance. I really like her. Dad would be proud if we become friends. Mass proceeded to log into her computer with the intentional research like her appeal suggested. Googling Central California women's prisons to get familiar with the intuition. She learned about its history and that this would only be the second time they put someone to death. She wasn't sure what she believed what capital punishment, but she knew in her heart it felt wrong. That uneasy feeling caused her mind to jump back to the prisoner herself. After several minutes, she located information about the case and began to read about the innocent. There were no photos online of the prisoner, but the story made national headlines at the time. Max was too busy with school during the last few years and wasn't aware of many news stories. She figured that would have changed in her new world since the news and current events would soon become her life. Max discovered that a growing number of protests had formed around this case, calling for true justice to be served as well as reformation of the system. They believed that the eye for an eye mentality was barbaric and outdated, and people still focus on transformation, grace, and redemption rather than taking away another human life. The National Coalition for Death Penalty Abolishment was funding most of the rallies and protest events leading up to what they were calling Death Day. Winston was right. This was going to be a high-profile experience for her, and she hoped she'd be up for the task. As additional details emerged, her eyes widened and her heart sunk. Her breathing hissed, and when she discovered where the murder took place, the room began spinning, and Max had to take her hand off the mouth and grip the edge of her desk in an attempt to regain control. The prisoner, who wasn't even 20 years old when it happened, pulled the trigger, killing a man, in Master's hometown of Acacia Bay. She quickly located her pills and first one down her dry throat. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh. Oh boy. That's intense. It's intense. Oh boy. What did J. Joe do? Who did J. Joe kill? If it's set in Acacia Bay and we think of here, Jane Doe killed Nathan Prescott, basically. Because candidly, Nathan Prescott sought Chloe, and that's what led to her death. So there's a chance that Jane Doe basically pulled the trigger and killed Nathan Prescott. So that's a theory. And I will admit, I know who Jane Doe is, but I won't be saying. Please, no one in the comments say who it is. I want this to be spoiler free in the comics. So, no comics spoiling. Please and thank you. I will delete your comment if you spoil. So, have that as a warning. Okay? Are we good? Hopefully we're good. Because I don't want to delete anyone comments. I really, really don't. I don't really like when I have to delete comments or do stuff like being a mod or being, especially when I'm the only one doing my own channel, so no one else can delete comments and see what's done. So please be nice in the comments and don't spoil. Please and thank you. Hi everyone. This is AmberAnkNA again. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Because, I really did enjoy making it. But, so I hope you enjoyed it. Comment, like, and subscribe with the notifications on down below. Till next time, bye!